Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Mike with Insider Secrets, and I am joined today by my guests, Chris and Ashton Leverak. And guys, can you tell our listeners what they're going to hear a little bit about today?
Definitely. So we dive into making some decisions, high stake decisions, some technologies we use in our business, and 120 unit we closed just this last month in Texas.
Great.
Yeah, as well as talking about how to get clear about your goals and actually create the lifestyle that you want.
Awesome. I'm glad you guys are here. Looking forward to the episode. And listeners, for everybody here, you're going to have to tune in and listen to the whole show. See you soon.
Welcome to this week's edition of Insider Secrets, the show that turns multifamily investing into reality. Each show we interview guests who are seasoned professionals, actively closing and managing real estate deals. Your host, Mike Morawski, has more than 30 years of multifamily real estate investing and property management experience. Mike is the founder of My Core Intentions and has been involved in over $285 million of transactions. Focuses on helping you create short-term cash flow and long-term wealth. Here's your host, Mike.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mike with Insider Secrets, and that's brought to you by My Core Intentions. Hey, have you been thinking about your real estate intentions and where you want to go? You know, here we are at the end of the year, right? And we're looking at a new year in front of us. What are your intentions for the new year? You know, at MCI, we invest in our clients' future through an educational and teaching platforms. And our focus is to help you learn how to create short-term cash flow and long-term wealth. We want to empower you with sound real estate principles for investing and property management while you still have the ability to live a well-balanced lifestyle. So we try to do this by developing foundational practical principles. And hopefully our guests today will bring some of that to the table and we'll be able to talk about that. You know, one of the things shamelessly that I'll talk about real quick here is my new book, Exit Plan. Everything you need to know about multifamily investing and why you need an exit plan before you buy. You should grab a copy because we talk a lot about these techniques in it. But I am really excited about today's show. I'm joined by my guests, and that's right, plural, two guests. Usually we just have one, but brothers today of no sort, Chris and Ashton Leverak. Chris is a former firefighter in the United States Air Force. He graduated from Arizona State University, holds an information technology and leadership role in the banking industry. We're going to have to hear a lot about that. And he's a full-time real estate investor, managing partner of Valkyrie Investment Group. Since starting Valkyrie Investment Group, Chris has partnered with W-2 earners and fellow investors to achieve more choices and opportunity through real estate investing. His experience includes single-family residential acquisitions, private lending, loans, joint ventures, and multifamily real estate syndications. And we're going to let Chris talk a lot more about his background and all of that. But his brother Ashton is in the Air Force, special operations pararescuer, jumper, holds a BS in sports, health, and science, and is a full-time real estate investor. I'm sure that keeps him busy. We're going to find out a lot about that. But he's a managing partner of Valkyrie Investment Group. Ashton acts as the network facilitator and acquisitions lead for the Valkyrie team. Understanding that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, Ashton is passionate about team building and the opportunity-minded investors, focused on creating equity and passive income for generational wealth. Both are married, enjoy life with their wives and their children, and we're going to let Ashton and Chris talk a lot about that. Hey guys, welcome. And the first thing I want to say is really thank you for your service. Appreciate what you guys do for us and for the country, but thanks a lot. You guys want to say hi real quick?
Sure.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. And thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah, glad you're here. So we're just talking about how, you know, Ashton's in Oregon and it's 6 a.m. there and we're recording, and Chris is in Phoenix and it's 7 and I'm in Chicago and it's 8. So we kind of have the time zones covered, which is kind of cool. But hey guys, listen, one thing I always ask people when we start is, in one word, describe for the listeners what your focus is, what your vision is, what really describes you and your business strategy. One do you want to go first? And
I think freedom.
Yep. Choices.
Yeah.
wow, great words. I've been doing this for a while now, and it's interesting. I don't know that I've ever really had anybody double up on words that somebody else has said. And it's kind of interesting. It just shows where everybody's thought preference is different,
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, what I like to do is just kind of talk about your backstories a little bit. Chris, if you want to go first and tell us a little bit about your backstory, how you got into real estate, what your passion is, and then we'll find out from Ashton a little bit about his, and you guys can talk about how Valkyrie came together then.
Sure. Yeah. So pretty funny. I joined the military in 2006. After college, I did a bit of traveling overseas. Lived in France for 2 years before that, and then decided the military, went in, became a firefighter. My brother was already special forces. So I tried the physical, really active role in the military. And I enjoyed it, but I did find that, my passion wasn't completely into it. And so when I exited the military and I went back to college, I decided to go into IT. It was great. A lot of big salaries there. So I thought it'd be good. And lo and behold, I found I was really good at it. So I started a career. I've been in about 11 years now, information technology. So I do network administration, server administration. I'm actually in a lead role now. And really quickly, though, I did find out that, we're putting all this money aside in our big salaries that we make. And the more you make, the more you put aside into 401ks and the more you get taxed. And I was like, there's got to be something else here, because this isn't gonna, I'm not a math whiz, but I could tell really quickly that wasn't going to even out very in the end. When I'm, in my 60s, retiring, that 401k was going to be pretty small if I'm taking big contributions or distributions. So in 2018, I looked into real estate. I said, hey, there's a lot of people doing this who hold wealth. There's got to be something there. Why are all these wealthy people holding real estate, and how do they get into it? So we started looking in North Carolina, actually. We started investing into duplexes, and that's kind of how we got started there. It's really that idea that this 401k or these retirement vehicles were not enough, and there has to be a better way into that. And so we started in that direction, in that manner. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about discovering how wealth is created. If you really look in history and you look at some of the richest families, some of the wealthiest families in history, when you start talking about Rockefeller and Andrews and, all that wealth was created through real estate, or a good portion of it was held in real estate, which is always interesting. I believe in success leaves clues. So let's do what others did, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about you, Ashton?
So yeah, I was on 18 years in the military, just at 2018. And Chris came to me talking about this real estate thing. And I had been looking for, that next step. So where was I going to go? And kind of to back up, like I've always been in the military. I joined the military at 98. I did the rescue swimmer program with the Coast Guard. Then I jumped over to the Air Force to the pararescue. So I've always been very active, all I ever wanted to do was just to travel the world, I go on adventures and have a good time. And so coming up on my 18 years, I was kind of like, well, what am I going to do next? I got 2 little girls. I want to continue to travel. I want to continue to have the freedom to do this stuff, but I don't want to spend as much time working for that opportunity. Because in the military, I was gone a lot. I was traveling for either training or I was deploying, but I was always gone. 250, 300 days a year. And I'm not exaggerating. We used to have to keep track of that just because, the military wants to make sure that people are home with their families a certain amount of time. So it was kind of like well, I have 2 little kids. I got to be a father now. I want to be a father. How can I create the income, the passive income? Because I didn't really know what passive income was. I just thought, how could I create the income and still live the life I want and be with the family that I have now, that and really put that time in to raise my daughters. And when my brother brought that real estate model to me in 2018, I kind of just jumped on it. I was like, this sounds great. That makes sense. Rent needs to be paid, being the owner of a property like that. So at that time, him and I both just jumped into the education of it. And like you said, we I think we did a challenge. We challenged ourselves to get something under contract in 90 days. And then we were off to the races, analyzing properties, talking to property management, doing market research, doing property research, all that stuff. And we just went full steam ahead. We got a quad under contract in 90 days, and we were gone, just partnering with people, raising money, learning as we go, doing it the hard way, doing everything yourself in the beginning. We learned a lot since then, and the business has grown a lot. Our roles have shifted. Our brand has changed. Our models changed. I mean, we've been through quite a few changes in the last 2 years, but I'm happy to say that, and I'm sure we'll go through a lot more moving forward because everything's always changing. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun building this as it is right now. So it's been a great experience.
Yeah. What's interesting is it sounded almost like you were going to spend your life in the military at one point, that's really what your focus was going to be. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity arose, and it was like, wow, this could be the next stage of my life, and I like what you said about, wanting to spend more time with your daughters and family. And I think that, we come to a point in our lives where that becomes really important. And, one of the things that I like to teach is, how do we live a more balanced lifestyle, a quality of life that other people will admire, but not only admire, but will want a part of, right? So I think that I commend you for doing that. And it's interesting that so many people don't know about opportunities in real estate, whether it's just owning a rental property or whether it's passive income. I talk to people every day that, God, I didn't even know real estate existed, and I just kind of find it interesting,
Well, it's not talked about, in school. Like when you go for a financial education, it's not even, I don't know if they even touch on it, but yeah, we find the same thing. I mean, it's always like work till retirement, put 10% or more away in some type of retirement fund or savings. No one ever talks about how your money gets devalued sitting in a savings account. Nobody talks about all the taxes that go into retirement plans and how volatile the stock market is,
Yeah.
Instead, it's almost like they want you to do that stuff. I don't know. I don't want to go in the conspiracy of it, but it's just, it seems,
for that.
yeah, it is too early for that. I've only had like one cup of coffee.
I'm the wrong guy to talk about conspiracies with, because we could go all day. So
yeah, but it's almost like they want to keep you not stupid, but uneducated on it.
Yeah.
No one ever touches on it, but you're absolutely right. Like it's a great vehicle, and there are so many opportunities. Just depends how you want to do it.
Right.
If you want to be active, if you want to be passive, if you want to do small, big, whatever, commercial, residential, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Well, listen, one of the questions I want to ask you guys is, how do you, and you both might have different answers for this because of your military background, but how do you make high stake decisions? So, something important is going on, something that really needs attention. And how do you go about making high stake decisions in your life?
Chris, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough for me. It might be easier for Ashton because it's personality based, I think can help. If you're a kind of big picture person or if you're a detail person, sometimes the detail, you get bogged down in the details and you can't make that quick decision. You want to analyze everything. You hear about that in real estate, analysis paralysis. You're just waiting for that right deal and you never pull the trigger. So for me, sometimes that does happen. I get hung up on that. For me, it's a lot of operational decisions because I do a lot of the management of virtual assistants we work with. And now that we've branched out our roles, I do have people coming to me and they need a decision right there. We just had one, should we sell this quad or should we not sell this quad? Should we wait and try to find a better opportunity? And sometimes, we just have to say, okay, look, maybe we didn't get what we wanted on this. There are some downsides, but we need to make a decision. And I'm going to take that decision full front. I'm going to commit to it. And if I was wrong, I was wrong. We'll learn, we'll go forward. But that's kind of how I do it. I have to kind of like make peace with it that this might not be the best decision, but it is a decision and we'll learn going forward either way. So
yeah, for sure. Very good. Good analogy. How about you, Ashton?
I think Chris and I have talked about stuff like this ad nauseum, I think, but being clear about where you want to go is first and foremost. If you're having trouble making decisions, if you're having trouble I can almost pare this down or use this analogy for every instance that people get into. I think that's one of the big problems in today's world is people don't know what they want. If you know what you want, the decision is easy. If you know where you want to go in your life, if you know that I want 6-pack abs, you shouldn't be eating that donut, right? It's pretty simple.
Damn, really?
Yeah. You should be at the gym. Like if you want to make more money, then you need to find a way to do that. If you want more passive income, you need to, I really think that's where it starts. And Chris and I have done this, my wife and I do this. We look 3 years in the future and we figure out where we want to be. So where do I want to be in 3 years? What's my office look like? How much time do I have to go do the things I want to do? How much time am I spending with my family? How much time am I spending with my wife? How much disposable income do I have? How much am I working each year? Like that kind of stuff. You have to be absolutely clear about what you want. In the military, we always look at, in special operations, you're always looking at a target. We're going to go hit this target. We're going to rescue somebody. We're going to get these bad guys. We're going to do whatever. But we always look at the target first. And that defines the whole mission. That defines how we're going to get there. That defines what equipment we're bringing. That defines who's coming, like all that stuff. And no decision is taken lightly. Like who comes on the mission, who doesn't, what we're bringing, how, like those are huge decisions. And sometimes things need to be made at the last minute. But if you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish in your life, it's actually pretty easy. And so, I always say like the keys to actually getting anywhere and getting what you want are just clarity, knowing exactly what you want, commitment, being committed to that and nothing less, because I think a lot of people kind of let that go. They don't commit. They're like, yeah, I would like to spend more time with my family, but they don't make the commitment to actually find a way to do that. And then, and commitment means, I accept that and nothing less. And if I fail, there is no such thing as fail. I'm either successful or I learn. And that's what real commitment is. And then the last one is just taking action daily. And that's something that Chris and I have, really hammered down as far as like accountability partners, as business partners, as, brothers, being accountable. And sometimes it's tough, but you do need to take that action daily if you want to get somewhere in life.
Yeah. Good stuff, Chris, Ashton. Very good stuff. And you'd be surprised how many people don't have clarity. And even if you do know where you want to be, why do you want to be there? I think that's a big piece of it too, right? Is the why, because the why is the driver. And it's not just, well, I want to make more money. Well, why do you want to make more money? Because if it's just making more money, here's $10, there's more money, go away. It's why. What does that represent? So, hey, you guys just closed a 120 unit deal. You wanna tell us about that and how that went for you and some of the things that happened along the way?
Yeah, definitely. It was, interesting when you're closing properties during all this COVID going on. There's a lot of shifting parts and moving pieces. And especially when you're working on something as big as 120 units, we had, multiple partners, multiple vendors, contractors involved, different banks. And so I just want to say it was a great achievement. It took probably 8 months to bring everything to close. And that's a lot longer than a normal closing. Yeah. A normal closing might be 45 to 60 days. But yeah, it was in Texas, right outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, C-class, C+, it's a value add project. So we usually target value add projects that we're just looking to slowly turn the units and raise rents by 100, 150 up to a proven rent that we can see from competing different properties around our property. But it was a great achievement with multiple partners, and we were happy to play a part of it. And do you have anything to add, Ashton?
Hey, I got a couple questions real quick. Maybe you
Sure.
can help add some light, Ashton. How much did you pay per unit on a C-class deal outside of Dallas? And is your, being a value add, do you think you can take it from a C to a B, or can you move it a half a point, or, what's your thoughts around that, or what's your focus and where you're headed with that?
Man, I'm guilty of data dump. Okay, so let me see. we closed on it. What was it per door, Chris? It was like 76,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 76,000 a door.
And
Yeah, off market. I was brought to us by our asset manager actually. And that just goes back to networking and then relationship building, right? But yes, I think it can go to a B class property. It's got a strong market there. It's within commuter distance to Dallas. So 30 minutes is kind of what we look for when we look at like commuter, how long people are willing to commute. And then with the rising price of real estate in Dallas itself, I mean, it's pushing a lot of people to these outer, smaller markets like Greensville. So yeah, and then there's also some strong economic drivers in that market itself. I mean, there's some big companies, like some big contracting companies that work for the government actually right in that market. So I think there's a lot of potential there. It's a nice property. In fact, it's the one you see behind us right now, both of us. Yeah. So there's a lot of there. It's made up of a good mix of studio, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and I think there's some 3 bedroom. Is that right?
It's two. There's four types. There's the studio, the 1 bed, 1 bath, 2 bed, 1 bath, 2 bed, 2 bath.
2 bed, 2 bath. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely some upgrades that need to happen, but yeah, a lot of potential. It's gonna come out really nice. So
Yeah.
I was just out there, a week and a half ago, meeting all the tenants, doing a meet and greet. We had had a bunch of food out for them, and we're talking to them about their concerns, just so that they put a face on who's managing the property now and in charge of all these changes. So there was a lot of things brought up, but then it was nice to meet everybody. Some really cool people there.
So let's talk about some operation stuff. So when you took that over, obviously a value add play. Did you leave the current staff in place? Talk about your on-site staff. Did you leave them in place? Are you replacing them? What's your plans with the current staff?
So we're working with a nationwide asset management company that we actually partnered with on this deal. And they're the ones who brought it to us because we've worked with them on another deal prior to this one. So earlier this summer, we closed on an 84 unit in Columbus, Ohio, and they worked with us on that one. And so they turned around and brought this deal to us. So obviously they wanted a part of it, and they set up all the management. They did all that. They helped us with the due diligence, of course. And then, they're going to be in charge of a lot of the turns. We're going to be managing the progress, but yeah, they're going to be in charge of the actual asset itself. But they put boots on the ground operators to manage it and be right there. So.
It's interesting, and I want the listeners to pay attention to this. One of the things that we talk about is buying criteria, and that's a great market. I had a pretty big footprint of properties in the Dallas-Fort Worth market and submarkets because it's a great area, and the price point worked. And when you talk about buying criteria, one thing that I want the listeners to hear is, when you talked about driving distance to Dallas, 30 minutes, these are things that a lot of people don't think about. They might buy something an hour out of town or 45 minutes out of town and not think about where's that tenant base going to come from or that rental base. But that's a good call. And I like that you brought that up because that was a good teaching point for buying activity. Here's the other thing. You mentioned $78,000 a door in that market. Value add, when you are all done, what's the after repair value going to be estimated at?
Chris, you remember that one? So we had
After the 5-year hold, you mean?
Yeah.
So if we bought it at 9.2 million, we're looking to sell in year 5 at 12.9 million.
Okay. That's a great increase. I asked that because I talked to a broker last week in Phoenix, and his average C-class deal in Phoenix right now is $189,000 a unit. So you can see where the activity's at, right? And all the money's pouring into right now. So Did you guys syndicate that deal?
We did.
We did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you guys syndicate a deal? How do you raise money? Family and friends, or what's your secrets around that? Hey, remember, this show is Insider Secrets. So now I'm going to ask for some secrets.
There we go. Yeah. So we niche down into our role where we do play a big part in the investor relations, the capital raise, the due diligence. That's kind of like our role. in a partnership on a syndication. So we actually built a fund for this one. And how we did that, I mean, we went to, of course, a securities attorney, but we get all the documentation, a PPM, and just like a normal syndication, I guess, operating documents you would need, except it just spells out that, this can be multiple properties. There's a certain timeline associated with the fund, but it can be associated with one to three, depending how many you put in the document, different properties or just multifamily in general. And that really allowed us to use that same fund on the 84 unit and this 120 unit. So it gave us that leeway we really needed during the year of 2020 when those closing times kind of stretch.
Yeah.
So that was useful for us. It also lets our team maintain our investor base and the communications with our investors, because the fund acts as a single investor into a sponsor deal, for example. So that way we maintain that communication. You're not simply just passing off investors to a bigger deal, for example.
Nice.
So that's kind of a little secret there.
Okay, good. You want to add anything, Ashton?
I apologize. I muted myself.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's cool to know. So yes, that is the specifics how we did it. But I think one of the things that when I talk to new investors, when I talk to new real estate syndicators, when I talk to people that are looking at getting in real estate, people always ask that, well, where do you get the money for it? And how do you raise that money? There's a lot of different ways, but how do you get in front of people? And so this is one of the things that we're really working on, is building relationships with key people that want to be involved in this kind of thing, right? Because what we found is, a lot of people, once they start to see the benefits of real estate, they don't know where to start. And so we always talk about, like, the first, people do it on their own. They own every mistake and they own every success, and it's high risk, high reward. And it's great. It can be great. It can be terrible. But second, like, people do mentorship programs, which are great because they provide a ton of, value. They provide a ton of resources. But of course you have to pay to do that. And then you still have to do the work. And then the last one is partnering. And that's where a lot of people start, is as a limited partner or as a general partner. And when people realize that they can come into these as limited partners, that is pretty powerful, because we've had multiple friends come in as limited partners and then go on to do their own deals. And so, because, you build that relationship. So that's been a large part of our outreach, of our networking, is showing people how to get started, how they can get involved in creating passive income and protecting what they make through, the tax benefits of real estate. So, yeah. So, and we could go into this. This has been a wormhole of a project of just figuring out how best to educate our network, and so that people can understand how to get started, how to partner, how to get involved in real estate syndication. So, like we've talked about before we started, is something we're working on, active campaigns. So on how we educate our investors, educate our network through emails, through webinars, through ebooks. My brother wrote an ebook that you can get at our website. It's free. And then of course the blog. My brother's a great writer. He writes our blog at our website as well. And it's all about education. So providing that education, because like we talked about earlier, there's not enough people that know about the benefits of real estate, I think. And if they did, there would probably be more people involved. And so that's a large part of what we do, is educate. And it sounds like that's what you do a lot as well. I mean, podcasts are probably one of the best free education sources out there. But
you bring something really interesting to the table. Is there's a lot of people that don't know about that real estate. We talked about that a couple of times on the call here, just briefly like that. What's an interesting conversation is, how do we get to those people? Mm-hmm. How do we get to those people that don't know, because on social media, we're involved in these communities and with each other, that, that's how we met, was on social media. Right. And everybody already knows about real estate, but how do we get to the new investor, the person who doesn't know about real estate, who wants to learn, that we can go and teach, right? Because that's where our greatest value is, right? I heard, I was listening to something this morning on YouTube, and Jim Rohn was talking about learn, use it, and give it away. I thought, wow, what a great concept, right? And that's exactly what you're teaching. You learned it, you use it and now you're going to give it away. And I think that's really, it's commendable, but how do you get to those people? And talk about your active campaign a little bit. So,
Yeah. I think
So
I'll touch briefly on how we meet new people mainly. We have a monthly meetup we do, and that's been really key for the year of 2020. Of course, physical meetups are great, but the power of online virtual meetups that we've seen over the 2020 year has been just amazing. From your home, you can go out and network with hundreds of people. We've had we bring on a guest speaker, but we're getting 50, 60 people showing up. And that's really, I think, one of the most powerful ways to meet new people. And of course, we advertise that event on social media. And so how do you get that event seen on social media? That's another story. But, you being in these Facebook groups that orient with what you like to do, I think is a good way too. So if you are big into tech, go join some Facebook groups and maybe talk about real estate. You don't necessarily have to join a real estate group to talk about real estate. You can go talk, go join an art club and talk about real estate. I think that's a very missed, especially if you're looking for, investors or partners or that kind of thing. But a couple ways.
yeah, interesting. I like the point you made about meetup. I have a couple of meetup groups, and I have about 100 people that are signed up on both of them. One's for property management, one's for multifamily. But I find it interesting how many people actually show up.
Yeah,
4 or 5 people. I did this marketing push to about 3 weeks ago to do 4 weeks about goal setting. And how do we prepare for the new year coming up, right? Hey, 2020 is behind us. It's kind of been, good and bad, but how do we review that year? How do we set some goals? How do we build some systems and strategies? Now, how do we execute? And the first week I had about 22 people on, and last week, 1 person. So,
that's pretty typical though. I mean, from everyone I know who runs a meetup group, you can expect, if you have 100 people to join or 100 people to sign up, you can expect about 30% to show, 30 to 40%.
It kind of reflects life, right? I mean, people only stay committed, or there's another shiny object and they run after the shiny object, right?
Yeah.
Right. One thing I'm sure you learn in the military is don't chase shiny objects.
Yeah. No.
Hey, so one of the things I'd like to know is a couple of technology things that you guys like to use that are good for your business, systems, technology. What works for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, I'll dive into that. That's kind of my area. So we have got into Active Campaign recently. I recommend it if you have a service product business that you're trying to automate communications, keep track of contacts, keep track of your, closing or sales. It's a great product for that tool. Basically what it does, it can automate a lot of those pieces. So if you have, say, a form on your website and someone signs up for it, you can trigger a month-long or even year-long automation where they'll receive certain emails over what's called a drip campaign over a certain period of time. So it'll have pauses. If they do certain actions, it will take different steps. So for example, if they fill out the form and they say, I'm an accredited investor, when that form goes into Active Campaign, that contact now says accredited, and you have a whole nother list of emails that will shoot off based on the fact that tag or that variable now says accredited. So really powerful to get those automations working for you. You don't have to go hire a virtual assistant to follow up with someone or contact someone. Especially in this game, it's about building that relationship. It's about providing free information. And so if that's upon you as a person to log in every day and write an email and log it, that's just you can't do that at scale. So having a tool like Active Campaign is really great. We've used a couple though. Calendly, everybody knows Calendly, or these automatic call schedule tools. Those are a huge time saver. I don't know. I'm in IT, so in the business, in the W-2 world, sometimes you spend so much time just trying to schedule a meeting. Are you available on Friday? Are you available on Monday? Well, how about 2 p.m.? Yeah. So Calendly just allows you it looks at your calendar and people can pick a meeting time. But we use Monday.com too for project management. If you're familiar with Monday.com, it's like Asana. Those are kind of some of the big ones we use. I could go on and on. We have
Yeah. That's good though. That's good information. So So if you were given a new investor information, some advice, what would that look like today, or what would that sound like to a new investor coming into the business?
Well, first, I think we'd look at, where, I know I come back to this, but what does he want? What do you want? What are you looking for? Do you want to retire in 3-5 years? Do you want to build up a nest egg? Are you just looking something to augment your current income? Excuse me. Like what exactly are you looking for? So, because that depends. Are they looking for another job? They might get into being an active general partner on big deals like this, and then do they like finding deals? Do they like doing the underwriting? Do they like managing? Do they like, finding all the vendors that we're going to work with? So I think it's kind of a tough one to say, what do you say to that person? Because I need to know what they want. But at the end of the day, I think if you look at it like, first get clear on your goals, but also what are you good at? And when you realize that, you just said Jim Rohn, I love some of his quotes. He has some of the best quotes, right?
Yeah.
But I like this African quote that I've heard is like, go fast alone or go far together. Or as Jim Rohn puts it, nobody's smarter than all of us. When you realize that this business is a team sport, now you just have to figure out what you're good at.
Yeah.
And so like you come in, like when we first started, I was underwriting deals, Chris was underwriting deals. We were talking to contractors. We were doing everything. We were wearing every hat in the business. And you quickly realize that there is no way to do business. If you want to be efficient, you need to find people that are good at that stuff. And I really didn't like underwriting. I really didn't. And, but I thought I had to do it. And so it's good to know it. Absolutely. It's good to know how it's put together and how your business plan works off the numbers and why it works, but if you can find somebody that's good at that, or likewise, like if you're really good at underwriting, maybe you need somebody that's good at talking to brokers, at talking to investors or partners and building those relationships. So I think that's a great place to start, is like figuring out where you want to go and then what your goals are. And one of the things what you're good at. One of the things.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the tools, like I said, so being clear about where you want to go and then figuring out what you're good at. And one of the tools that we use to figure out what we were good at is first figuring out what was required of our business. And a book that helped us with that was Traction and the whole EOS model. If you're not familiar with Traction, it's written by Gino Wickman, really good on how to lay out your business and who needs to be in what seat. And then another thing that helped us is we used the DISC profile that Tony Robbins promotes. Right. It's actually free on his website, I think, but if you want a more in depth, you have to pay for it. But it's pretty good because when you look at like, okay, this business, our business, it needs this person, this person, this person, this person. They all have different jobs. If there's only 2 of us, or if there's, more, who fits in those roles? And to do that, you got to look at a person's personality, because if somebody's a people person and they're not huge in the details like myself, more of a big picture mindset, building relations, that kind of thing. Like I'm going to be a terrible person to be in the operations side because I'm going to miss a lot of the details. I'm a terrible person that's going to be on the, on the underwriting side because, I'm going to miss the details, or I'm going to not care about them. I'm like, yeah, this looks great, or whatever. But you want certain people in certain roles. And when you can identify what your strengths are, like people always say, what your superpower is, man, you can bring so much more to the team. And that takes a little humility, obviously, because you got to be like, well, I can do that stuff, but I'm not good at it. So let me get somebody else,
It's good to know your strengths and your weaknesses like that. And then where you fit. And I'm like you, I'm a rainmaker. I love building relationships and looking at deals, but I hate the little details, I get lost in that. And so anything you want to add, Chris?
To a new investor? Yeah. So, we do these calls all the time. We have free scheduling. Like we really leave it open for, a 20-minute intro to a bunch of different people. I'm also on Bigger Pockets all the time. So I'm connecting with really new investors. And, I try to do it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's at a different crowd. But so we have these talks and I just say, it's about finding out what is driving them to come into real estate. What are they looking for? And then we can kind of go from there. And the calls that we do, and I got this, I forget which book, but it's 70% about the person, 30% should be you or you talking, the communication, 70% about the new investor. Find out like really what drives them, what is making them have this, desire. So, and then you can kind of, help guide them along. But we found multiple different reasons, like you said, building retirement, tax deductions, passive income, just curious, like it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, listen, guys, this has been very enlightening. I've learned a lot. I'm sure that my listeners have learned a lot today. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Hey, I think that Ashton mentioned, Chris, that you have an ebook. You want to talk about that and tell listeners how, if they want to get a hold of you and how they would get a hold of you?
Definitely. Yeah. So the best way, we put everything on our website. So valkyriegroup.com, VALKERE group.com. The free ebook is the first link right at the top in the menu bar. It's also on the main page. But yeah, the ebook is awesome. It's Your Path to Freedom is the title. But basically what it does, it preps a new investor to understand the difference between passive and active investing. And it kind of details the high levels of there's about 6 different variables that I go through that kind of help you decide if you are active or you're passive, or which one aligns more with your current life situation, your current goals. And, just to give a highlight, like time is a big one for a lot of people. If you have a lot of time, maybe you're an active investor. Maybe you want to be active, if you're young and you got all that time in the world. But if you're in your, 40s and you have a family and you have a W-2 job, maybe you don't have time. So that's just one kind of variable that you might look at to decide if you're passive or active. So go check out that ebook. It's on the website, valkyriegroup.com. We got our contact information on there, social media. Me and my brother, Ashton, we're on a lot of social media networks. You can search for our names as well. LinkedIn, Bigger Pockets, we're all there. But if you want to just straight go to the website, we got a lot of contact on there and a lot of different resources.
Awesome. Ashton, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, if you are starting out, find somebody like Chris here because they make everything easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's built our website. He's built all the processes that go on behind the scenes. If I had to track every contact, every phone call, I would be lost, and there'd be stacks of papers of contacts of people and notes. So if you're really starting out, I'd recommend that book Traction. I'd recommend getting clear about what you want and then formulating a 3 to 5 year plan. Yeah. Clarity, commitment, and daily action.
So real quick, you brought up an interesting point, a 3 to 5 year plan. Where do you guys see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we both have W-2 jobs right now, albeit they're not full-time, but yeah, the plan is to be able to walk away within 2022 is by the end of 2022. So we're already 1 year into our 3-year plan.
Good.
Our plan initially was 500 units under management, cash flowing about 15 to 20,000 a month. And we're at 246 right now. So 246 units. So we're about halfway there and we still got 2 years left. So we're excited. We may have to shift some of the goals, but that's where we're going. Our big plan really is to create the lifestyle that would allow us to only work around 6 months a year. So, and by work, like actually hunting down deals,
right,
closing on deals, setting up all that. But yeah, so that's kind of where we are. We just want the choice, right? It's not necessarily, I love what I do. I have a lot of fun. I think Chris likes what he does as well. But yeah, we just want the choice. So.
Yeah. I think that's really important, and is that we have the choice. And, we talk about why. We've talked about that a couple of times on the call. And I think a lot of times people that ultimately becomes the why. I just want to be able to have the choice to get out of bed today or not, to go golfing or not, or to go to work or not. and it boils down to choices. So, hey guys, I'm really glad that you're here. I'm glad that we connected, Chris, on LinkedIn. That's where
Definitely.
we met. And I think LinkedIn is a great place for building relationships with people and developing relationships. Here's what I would say. Anybody who's looking for a syndication firm to be partners with, to be a passive investor in, I would give these guys a call and, find out a little bit more about them. I want to thank you guys again for being here and all my listeners for being here. Remember, we're here every Tuesday. So please follow us on social media, like us on YouTube, subscribe, do all that crazy stuff, right? And stay in touch, write reviews for us. Tell us how much you love us. So, hey, thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Chris, Ashton, thanks again.
Thanks,
for
Mike.
having us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for joining us for another great episode of Insider Secrets. As always, Insider Secrets is brought to you by My Core Intentions. Join us on social media and visit mycoreintentions.com, where you can get expert coaching on all things multifamily investing and property management. We're looking forward to having you back again next week for more Insider Secrets.